Welcome to Lecture 10. This is the review of the immune system, and this could be a very big, time-consuming topic for you, or a short topic, depending on how well you remember the immune system. And something strange about the immune system is it's a huge field, and the people who do research in it are lost in details all the time. And if you look at two different immunology courses, they will not be the same at all. And if you ask 10 different professors to show you their immunology slides, they won't be the same at all. So it's a tricky thing. The biggest thing I want to accomplish is really to show people the overall organization, so the big picture wherever possible, because I think that can get lost pretty easily when we look at details like keeping track of signaling molecules and things like that. So there is a lot of detail in some of these slides, but I only put that in when it helps us understand the organization of the whole system and how it works. So let's get into it. Why do we need immune systems? It helps to start with this. When we start by asking these questions, we can be thinking in the right way. So these are the organisms that can eat us quite easily. Our cells and tissues are made of lots of nutritious molecules like nucleic acids, proteins, lipids, carbohydrates. That's all in there. And viruses, for example, are able to take over our cells. So they don't eat us, but they use us to make more of them, and in the process damage us or kill us. And so we are always exposed to viruses and bacteria that are dangerous to us. And our immune systems protect us. Most of the time, the innate immune system protects us. That includes things like skin, and that's protecting us every second of every day of our lives from bacteria and fungi in the dust that fall on us, or in the soil we stand on, or whatever. So our innate immune system is protecting us from the constant exposure to all the different bacteria and viruses. So that's enough almost for everything. But there are some organisms that have evolved the ability to evade the innate immune system. And so for those, we need the adaptive immune system. The adaptive immune system can do things like find and destroy specialized pathogens, find and destroy cancers. It can do a lot of really complicated things. So as we go through this, we are going to be looking at lots of different cells and what they do. And when you're studying the different cells to review and refresh your memory, here's some questions you might want to ask yourself. What does it sense? What does it do as a response to sensing what it's trying to sense? And where does that fit into the overall picture of the immune system? And then thinking about things like T cells and B cells, for some cells, such as lymphocytes, their development is important. They have to be activated to do anything. So they have to go through education. And so ask yourself which of those is happening for whatever cell you're looking at. A lot of different cells we will look at have multiple behaviors they can do, multiple states they can be in. And so what causes them to go from one state to another, to go from naive to not naive, etc. And things like that. What else does it do? Does that cell communicate with others? What receptors can we see that would help us identify it? etc. And I say, like, what receptors help us predict its behavior. That's useful because when researchers are studying this stuff, to identify cells, they have to use research antibodies to determine which receptors are on cell surfaces, just to understand what they're looking at. So that's important. So here is a list of the different cells. These are the different cells that we will look at in this lecture. And these are some different ways we classify immune system cells. These are some pictures. You've probably seen pictures like this before, where we're looking at erythrocytes and neutrophils, etc., in a three stain set that lets us identify white blood cells in blood. And that can tell us a little bit about the immune status of the person who donated that blood. This is a figure of the sort you've probably seen before, looking at different immune cells and their lineages. So how are they related to each other? I'm not going to ask you to identify these white blood cells from these pictures, and I won't ask you about lineages. I'm just reminding you, you've probably seen this before. So the first part of this this lecture will be about innate immunity, and so I want to fully compare innate and adaptive immunity before we do that. There are some disputes people will have about what is innate and what is adaptive, and I want to show you the logic behind those classifications so that you could apply that logic. So the first thing is that the innate immune system is ancient. Multi-celled organisms have innate immune systems. Even some single-celled organisms have innate immune systems, but adaptive immune systems are relatively new. So vertebrates have them. Things like we wouldn't expect an adaptive immune system in an insect or a snail, but we would in a frog. The innate immune system, more importantly, is fully formed in children. It's fully formed when you're born. It's encoded completely in your DNA. And that means that it doesn't change or learn anything between when you're born and when you're old. So the innate immune system is fully formed when you're born, and it doesn't change over time. Whereas the adaptive immune system, you're born with potential for an adaptive immune system, and it develops from each infection. As it responds to each infection, it develops new capabilities. And so when you're born, you have no adaptive immunity of your own, but you have the ability to form new adaptive immunity. There you go. Innate immune responses are, in some cases, instantaneous, like skin is always there. Macrophages and neutrophils will reach a site of infection in a few minutes, whereas the adaptive immunity is slow. It might take several days to get a meaningful adaptive immune response. And there's that. And the other thing I want to point out is that the innate immune system really is for fighting off weak potential invaders. So bacteria that are not really adapted to causing disease. They don't specialize in that. They do other things. But they would eat us if we didn't have an innate immune system. So that's what the innate immune system is for. It's for fighting off the things that are not really adapted to causing disease. Whereas the adaptive immune system can help us fight those off, but it also can fight off the ones that are highly specialized for causing disease. Let's stop here, and then in the next video we will go into the innate immune system.